Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I am Godless Reggie. This is NJ. You're muted. How are you doing today, NJ?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And this is a special 420 Happy Easter edition of Faith, Lies, and Confusion. So I felt that it would only be right if we discussed the legend of Ishtar. Okay? Ishtar is a Mesopotamian god. I may have slightly touched on her last week or the week before, but we're going to talk about her today, right? This was kind of a last minute thought process, but once we get to talking about who she is, who she was, and things about her, I think a lot of people out that are watching, they'll be able to correlate who exactly she is and why we have a holiday in our country called Easter. So, previous to today, NJ, did
And
you
why
have any
we should
knowledge
bring
of?
it back. And why we should bring it back. And why we should bring.
Right. So, before today, did you have any information about Ishtar? Because honestly, I've only probably known about her about 3 or 4 days, honestly.
Really? How did you? All those discussions you be in, and it only came up 3 or 4 days ago? Wow. Okay.
Where I could understand and knew, where I really knew what the fuck they was talking about. I've have heard it before. I'm not gonna lie, I've heard the name before, but I just couldn't correlate what it was about. It really didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, I'm still lost a little bit in a situation, but it makes it makes a little sense to me. It all lines up. I'm looking at it from a different perspective now. Like I was telling you offline, I kind of look at the situation as winter solstice type situation. Um, Growing up, I never really knew what pagan meant. I
Yeah,
probably
just
still don't know what it means. I just feel like it means anything but Abrahamic religion, where there's pantheons. That would be my
right.
definition.
That exactly. Anything outside of organized religion is pagan. Anything.
And that's crazy that they would call it that because, at some point, some of these places, I mean, excuse me, some of these religions were literally organized religions, especially if we're talking about Greek or Roman mythology. I'm pretty sure people have lost their lives over Zeus or Odin and things like that in the past.
Yes. Yes. And if you need to pray to an imaginary person in the sky, when let's say nature kicks your ass, I can understand that. I can disassociate for a minute and be like, look, I need to talk to somebody. I'm gonna talk to this sky thing here. But to sit there and organize your taxes around a book, yeah, I you lost me there. You lost me there. You lost me there.
I agree, especially when the amount of money that is being generated through these things. Now, if we always talk about, well, I'm not going to say we, but in politics and on TV, they always talk about ways that they can generate income for the state, ways that they can provide jobs, things like that. I mean, maybe not so much as jobs, but I mean, that motherfucker is producing revenue, and that is a fact. So, why are they not taxed? Because everybody's eating. I mean, I really know the root of the issue, but I'm just saying in general, why are you not taxing them? Because you could be making a killing, literally.
But you don't understand. They all got together about, I don't know, 30 years ago and had a dick pissing contest. And we are right now in the middle of their fantasy on who's going to be the one to hit the mark, the goal. I think it was $1 trillion. Is it $1 trillion in a single bank account? I think that's what the deal was, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I paid attention. I'm sorry. Did I say
Understandable.
that out loud on record? I'm sorry. I be forgetting where I am sometimes.
You okay? You didn't say anything wrong. I mean, you're just being honest. Honesty is respected around here. So let's do a little bit of reading on Ishtar, so I can basically touch base on her. 1 second. Okay, so who is Ishtar? And this is according to ChatGPT. Ishtar is one of the most important goddesses in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. She originated in Sumer as Inanna and later became known as Ishtar in the Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian traditions. Here's a quick breakdown of who she is. She's the goddess of love, sexuality, war, power, and fertility. So, yeah, she's kind of a big deal. She's complex, fierce, and full of contradictions. She could be nurturing and passionate, but also destructive and vengeful. Mythical highlights: the descent to the underworld. One of her most famous myths involves her journey to the underworld, where she tries to take over the realm of her sister, Ereshkigal. I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing that. To enter, she must strip off her clothing and symbols of power at each of the seven gates. A symbolic death and rebirth tale. Her absence causes chaos on Earth, no fertility, no love, etc., until she is eventually revived and released. The Epic of Gilgamesh. She tries to seduce the hero Gilgamesh, but when he rejects her, she goes into a rage and sends the bull of heaven to punish him. Gilgamesh and his friends and Kadu kill the bull, and that sets off a chain of tragic events. Symbols and associations: lions, which would be power and ferocity; the eight pointed star, her symbol; doves, often depicted with wings, weapons, and surrounded by divine light. A fun fact about Ishtar: Ishtar is sometimes compared to Aphrodite, Venus in Greek Roman mythology, love slash beauty, and to Athena, the warrior aspect, which shows just how multifaceted she was. Okay, so this is a lot deeper than what I thought. It seems like everybody takes their own personal spin on this particular myth. It almost sounds like, when people have the debate on what's her name, Cleopatra. Oh, was she African? Was she Greek? Was she this? Was she that? It's almost like that type of situation, and
A-
it really
And
reminds me of her.
and when they have those discussions, just ask them which one. There were seven Cleopatras. Which one?
I never knew that. Yeah, I've never knew that, but it makes sense. It seems like a pretty common name, Cleopatra, Mesopotamia. Seems pretty common, right? And who's to say her name was even
This
pronounced like that?
story of the sister going down into the underworld is basically a story of a sister leaving her kingdom, going. Uh, they would call it down the river. We would call it up the river, and going to her sister's court, making a whole bunch of ruckus and trouble, and then taking her happy ass on back to her own damn neighborhood. And some artist somewhere turned it into this form so that everyone would remember to tell the tale of what's her name again?
Listen, you taking the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say, shit, if they can get her fucking name right. Like, that's the thing. Okay, when you got these groups of people that are surrounded by each other, right? When I'm talking about the Mesopotamians, the Greeks, the Romans, all of them, right? They all have their own names for the same motherfucking people, right? And it's not just them either. It's the Muslims and things like that. All of them, they have the same different names for the same fucking people. So
If
it
you
gets
go
confusing.
read the tale of the nine-tailed fox, you will find that it matches almost perfectly the story you just told with this particular one.
I'm gonna have to do that because I've never heard of that before. What is that based off? I mean, like, is that
The nine-tailed fox is based on the spirit of a. Oh, it's Japanese, so I can't pronounce it and I can't think of it. I just know it by the English translation of nine-tailed fox. I am sorry. I can't think of it right now.
it's not fair to ask an American citizen to try to stumble through Japanese. That ain't
Thank you.
cool. That
Thank
ain't
you.
cool.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
not, their language is not even like our type. You know what I'm saying? There's not even a European type language. I'm not, bigging up Europe or anything like that. But it's not even based like that. Different alphabet system, every fucking thing. So Yeah, I be fucking them damn Greek and goddamn Hebrew names and shit up. So
I
asking a
can,
person to do that.
I, you know, I should be suing Hooked on Phonics. I was one of the kids in the first, New Jersey group to go through on the phonics system, and yeah, I can't pronounce most English words. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm still trying to remember I before E, except after C or before C. I don't remember.
You know what's been getting on my last nerve lately. This is off topic. I'm just gonna touch on it real brief, and I'm gonna get right back to this. Man, me trying to learn fucking Spanish for the life of me, I cannot roll my R's for shit. No matter how many times I practice, no matter how many times a person shows me, I can't fucking do this shit. I can't.
Spanish all 4 years, and all that woman kept saying was, "You're ours, you're ours, you're ours." And I said, "You knew what I meant. You heard me."
Listen, not a fun fact, but a fact. I forget the year. It was in the early 1900s in the Dominican Republic. That is one way that they hunted down Haitians. If you was darker and you couldn't roll your R's, they knew. Boom, that was the test, and either they would unalive you or deport you immediately. So,
Damn.
uh, but anyway, let's get back to Ishtar. I'm gonna play a short video of her. Give me 1 second.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. Today is Easter Sunday, and whilst the Christians of the world are celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, Christians and non-Christians alike will no doubt be feasting on chocolate eggs. The rebirth of Jesus and the consumption of chocolate eggs are certainly not linked with regard to their origins, and historians and biblical scholars alike will universally admit that before ever becoming a Christian holiday, Easter is undoubtedly a pagan festival. This can be seen by the fact that the date of the Easter weekend changes every year, and it is due to Easter always being the first Sunday following the full moon after the spring equinox. Unlike the word Christmas, the word Easter also has pagan roots, and history books can trace it back to the Saxons, where Istra was the spring goddess. It wasn't until the 8th century when the Anglo-Saxons took the name from the goddess to give a new name to a Christian holiday.
Okay, so I'm glad that he got right to the point. Um, I'm also want to admit that I've been saying that name incorrectly. Right? You see how he's saying East Star? I'm gonna have to practice that. That's kind of like what we were just saying. But me saying
East Star,
Ishtar
yes. Eastern
is just
stars.
my.
East Star,
Hmm.
yes.
Uh-huh. That's exactly what
Mm.
it sounds like. Uh-huh.
Mm. Mm.
Which opens up another door.
But of course, Easter as a celebration goes back much further than the Saxons, and some say it even goes as far back as the Sumerians, and the legend of Dumuzi or Tammuz to the Babylonians, and Ishtar or Inanna. The legend known as the Descent of Inanna was found inscribed on a 4,100-year-old tablet. As Tammuz dies, Ishtar follows him into the underworld, where she gets judged, killed, and is hung on display. Meanwhile, the earth goes into decline, with crops failing and animals stop reproducing. After being missing for 3 days, the god Enki sends 2 creatures into the underworld, carrying the plant and water of life, and the 2 gods are resurrected. They return to Earth as the light of the sun for 6 months, and 6 months later, they go back into the underworld again and stay for a further 6 months. Hence, we see the cycle of death in the autumn and life in spring, all which, of course, are connected to sun worship. As you can see, like the story of Noah's flood, the Christian story of Jesus has borrowed a lot from the Sumerian legends. Whether Jesus was a real person or not is open to debate and is not for this video, but there is no doubt that the story of Jesus was embellished with far more ancient mythology to keep the ancient knowledge alive and to encode the wisdom into the New Testament for future generations.
Okay, I want to stop right there. I agree with what he said until he said to store whatever the fuck the wisdom for future generations. I don't know what you mean by wisdom because just because I know that I'm not smart or anything.
This is my thing.
What you think?
You storing information for what? Because information changes every day. That's why the stories were told um, through speech, because you could update the information as quickly as things change.
I mean, but information and knowledge are being used real loosely in this conversation. I'm not saying really necessary. Well, yeah,
It's
by
done
all of
on
us,
purpose. It's
because
done on purpose.
but,
It's a writing style.
right, because I'm not even gonna go out on a limb and even call it information. I think it's more of just a fucking story. It's just they're just stories. Like to me, obviously my name is not Webster or Encyclopedia Britannica. No, that's the encyclopedia. That's different. But whatever the fucking other dictionary name is, right? I'm not neither one of them. So my definition of information is something is
Encyclopedia Britannica was out there snitching on people living modest lives. If your family had the full set and it was less than 5 years old, we knew you had banked somewhere.
but back to my point. Information to me is something that is useful. It's like I'm not gonna say it necessarily means knowledge, but it's a very close synonym in my definition. I don't think that just because a person told a lie, or just because a person made up some mythology, or just because about these special gods that we can't prove, I don't look at that as information unless you're saying information on that. But I just don't look at it as like a learning process. Like unless it's for me to debate with people on TikTok or something, I don't fucking know.
And that's all it is. It's like we're all telling stories, and we're all like, believe my story about the story. Listen to my story about this. It's like, how many different renditions of the story do you need? Because you it's starting to sound like you've given us the okie doke to play out the story again. Like, how many times you want us to play out this fantasy for you? I don't understand. Like, when I heard the Airbnb was reopening the Coliseum, I officially threw my hands up in the air and said, never mind. They like it. Who am I to deny them? Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Woo!
So it just to me it just adds more confusion because I hear a lot of people always talk about and even people that are not even quote unquote debating with me, but they're just like, well, what's the truth? Let's find out the information. We're trying to get to the truth. What truth? What truth? I don't care how far back you go to whatever religion you find predates the other religion, or how far you go back into civilization, or what you learn as old. It has nothing to do with a creator. It has nothing to do with somebody in the sky going like this. And the reason why it will never is because whenever people evolved to become what we are, they did not have the knowledge or the skills or the tools to fucking write it down. They didn't. So as long as you know that, I really don't see how a person can even keep searching for it. That's why when they always ask me, like, oh, well, Reggie, how do you think that everything was created then? If there's no God, how was it all everything created? I don't give a fuck because I know there's no way that you can prove it. I know that because there was nobody there. And if there was somebody there, they didn't have a camera, they didn't have a phone, they didn't have a pen, they didn't
Here's
have a paper.
here's There's events that did have cameras
There's
that
nothing
are
there.
still being questioned to this day because them camera angles just ain't angling right. Let me be quiet.
You're right. You're right. You're right. We could Photoshop shit, even and a lot of the technology that we have with our phones, the fucking government and all that shit probably had 50, 60 years ago. I agree with you. But what I'm
Phew.
saying to you is, at least it's something, right? Something, a tool that we use to remember things, to record things. You see what I'm saying? To make
Yeah.
history with. And prior to that, it's just motherfuckers talking. It's just motherfuckers talking. And every place that you go that's different in the world where there was human beings, that they all got a far fetched ass bullshit story. All of them. All of them. Except for the ones that got
But I want
whitewashed
to know
or we ain't
why
buried.
they stopped the story of the pagans. I want to know why the pagan story is the story that had to die. Because I ain't going to lie. I would like to look forward to a fuck fest every year. I mean, like every 5 years is, yeah, because they could count on their fingers. They could figure out
Yeah.
five. They only needed one hand, provided that they was born with all of them. Somebody along the way came up with this process of cutting them off as a punishment for whatever little infraction that their little pea brains thought up. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, every 5 years you come together in the preordained spot, and you knew the preordained spot because when they met the last time y'all was back here on the first finger, they told you where the next ones was going to be at so that nobody missed it.
My thing is this, right? Okay, so since you're saying it's every 5 years, I just want to have the opportunity. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm not saying I'm going to even get involved because you never know what you got going on in life. You feel me? You might just be married. You might just be like, I'm going to do right. You feel me? But just consider me. I might want to stand there and watch or something. I might be scared. I'm just saying. You never know. Somebody might stank. You never know. I'm just saying. Just give me the option to make the decision. It's me. Just like, no different than the circumcision shit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm upset that I was circumcised. I'm not going to say that because I feel they did a good job. Right. And for a long time, until I was about 18 or 19, no, probably like 15 or 16, I didn't even know it was a such thing. I didn't know nothing about that. But my thing is this: overall, I'm going to say I should have been notified first. I should have been notified. I should have been notified. This is my dick. Man, how the fuck is you gonna make that call without
Somebody,
me knowing?
somebody's,
Without me being a consenting
somebody
adult?
convinced,
What listen,
somebody convinced your mama because your mama had all saying that religiously and legally. The
I
only
give it to you.
person who could make that decision was your mama. Even if they was married, your daddy couldn't make that decision. It had to be your mama's signature.
Listen, I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. But my whole thing is no matter who made the call, right? I
Right.
feel that I need
But
to be
with daddy
notified. It's
standing
really me.
over mom going, you will
I know.
circumcise my son.
I can
That's
listen.
my
You know what? I
question.
can't. I was
Because
there,
there's
but
a,
I don't even
I
remember the
remember
words
a
from it.
lot of gentlemen in the church being very emphatic, during, the church cookout, because, it's Easter Sunday. After church, there's always got to be a little church cookout, change your clothes down in the basement, going out there for the cookout. And they stand around and they have these uh, tedious conversations about what they will and will not be having in their family, in their house, in their business. But they out there telling all their business. But you know how that go. But yeah, they would have discussions about my son, yeah, my son. She better,
Man,
she better, she better.
listen. Look at it like this. Okay, so I don't care who you is, right? There's some barbers gonna fuck you up. You know, he may have had a rough night. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have the ability. See, this is the thing. The difference between having a person do your hair in the streets or a real barber or a real beautician. You have the ability to sue them if they fuck your shit up. That's the difference, right? With these doctors, how am I going to sue? I don't know who did that. What if he had a bad night? What if he was drinking? What if he just somebody caught his attention? He's like,
But
then
that's
what?
why we started suing the insurance companies, and that's why the insurance companies started lobbying to change the rules.
Man, that's just some bullshit. But we're getting way off topic here. Let me get
My
back to
bad.
this video,
Because
man. This
that's
shit
what
crazy.
happens when you're talking about a story. It leads to so many other stories.
I just said that. You know what? That I still feel like that's pro-choice. It's my choice. If I want to have an extra piece of garbage bag skin over my dick, that's on me. Who are you to make that fucking call? Especially then you want to have a kid in fucking Northwest Pennsylvania. It's cold as fuck out there. Bullshit.
I always wondered about the Jewish community. Like, what do they do when the rabbi just screws up? Like when he just oops. I don't know what I was thinking. I've never done a botched one before this moment, but this one I messed up. My bad.
Yeah, it's some bullshit. I don't even want to think about it.
The Bible is certainly a carefully crafted work of art. As ancient origins.net Christians identified the Emulus in Jerusalem, they selected a spot where a temple of Aphrodite, another god based on honor, once stood. Like most cathedrals, sepulchre was built in its place. But of course, as many of you know, there are many more stories of death and resurrection in the ancient world, such as the story of Horus in ancient Egypt, Mithras, Dionysus, etc. All such legends have common elements and are all associated with sun worship, and many were incorporated into the New Testament, which really isn't unsurprising when you look at the formation of the Holy Roman Empire and the adoption of Christianity by the emperor. In ancient times, the Cybele cult flourished on today's Vatican Hill. Cybele's lover, Attis, was born of a virgin, died and was reborn annually. The Spring Festival began as a day of blood on Black Friday, rising to a crescendo after 3 days in rejoice over the resurrection. In the early days of Christianity, there were violent conflicts between this cult and early Christians. Jesus is another symbolic story about the rebirth of the sun, and sure it was. But not all historians agree that it is the origins of Easter, because there is another spring goddess known by the names of Ishtar, and Istra. This goddess was celebrated on the spring equinox of March 21st as the bringer of light after winter. But in actual fact, it is very likely that all of these gods originate from Ishtar. The goddess was often depicted as a hare, and therefore the modern-day Easter bunny was symbolic for the arrival of spring, as well as the fertility of the season in languages and used ever since. Therefore, what this shows is that the true origins of Easter include a number of different customs and traditions from a number of different civilizations from time. It is a composite and truly pagan festival centered on the rebirth of the sun after the cold winter has passed. This is a timeless festival and has always been of high importance to most civilizations because it means that humans can once again cultivate crops as falling asleep on the sofa in front of an old James Bond movie. Okay, that was my own Easter tradition growing up, but as you may have guessed, in ancient worship customs, egg was associated with rebirth, renewal, and fertility. But why does a hare or Easter bunny give out eggs? Well, in Germanic mythology, the goddess Astara healed a wounded bird before turning it into a hare. The hare, still partially a bird, showed its gratitude by laying eggs as gifts. But even this Germanic pagan tradition goes back much further into antiquity, as even in ancient Egypt, the egg was found to symbolize the sun. Going back to the Babylonian Ishtar, the goddess who is one and the same as the Sumerian goddess Inanna, and who all later spring goddesses were likely modelled on, she was the goddess of fertility, and her symbols were the rabbit or hare, and also the egg. So, when you're eating your Easter eggs this weekend, remember that the origins of this tradition go back many thousands of years. Maybe not chocolate eggs, but eggs nonetheless. As stated in ancientorigin.net's fantastic article, the first reference of the Easter Bunny comes from a German text from 1572, which says, "Do not worry if the Easter Bunny escapes you. Should we miss his eggs, we will cook the nest." The egg-giving tradition, some of the finer details of the goddess myths, as well as the actual day when Easter Sunday is celebrated, were all incorporated into the Christian tradition and associated with Jesus by the Council of Nicaea. What I find most amazing is that the ancient traditions of our ancestors and the pagan symbolism have lived on.
Okay. I got to stop it right there. Now, that's something I did not know. I did not know that the determination of Easter was predicated off the Council of Nicaea. So that's very, very fucking interesting. Most people, I would bet, don't know that.
I knew that. I
Did
knew
you know
that.
that?
I knew that. I knew the pagans was there. They was there. They was there. It had to go in the book, or the pagans wasn't going to cooperate. It wasn't until the church came through and was like, yeah, that thing that y'all do with the sex fest, we don't like that. We don't like that. We don't like that, because it's kind of hard to get the people that follow us to follow the rules if they see you getting away with this sex fest every year or every 5 years. So we're going to need you to cut that out. And we were like, fuck you, right? And that's when the war started with the church. The church was always antagonizing, infighting. That was it.
I mean, I agree with you about the pagan thing, right? Obviously, that they were there, right? That's the religion that predates everything, based off of that fucking term is loose as a motherfucker, right? But my thing is this: I did not know that it was decided and made to be that day. Well, not that day because it always changes. But I didn't know that the whole concept and all that was incorporated at the Council of Nicaea, because when we did the Council of Nicaea, I don't recall that topic coming up.
Yep. And then we
But
got, and
is
then
it?
after that Council of Nicaea, we got the Gregorian calendar, and that's why it changes every year, because it didn't really put in the Gregorian calendar for floating holidays.
Okay. Let me play the last little bit of this video. It's short.
I wish you all a happy Easter, and thank you very much for watching. I've just launched a new YouTube channel called
No advertising, my man. So I'm gonna read a little bit about from another source, Wikipedia, about Ishtar. Give me a second. Let's see if I can blow this up some more. Maybe not. But when I look up Ishtar on Wikipedia, it comes up as Anana. Anana is the ancient Mesopotamian goddess of war, love, and fertility. She is also associated with political power, divine law, sensuality, and procreation. Originally worshipped in Sumer, she was known by the Akkadian Empire, Babylonians, and Assyrians as Ishtar, and occasionally the Lalogram. Her primary title is the Queen of Heaven. She was the patron goddess of the Enan temple at the city of Uruk, her early main religious center in Arkiak, Iraq. She was worshipped in three forms: morning Anana, evening Anana, and princely Anana, which doesn't make any sense. the former two reflecting the phases of her associated planet Venus. Her most predominant symbols include the lion and the eight-pointed star. Her husband is the god Dumuzid, later known as Tammuz, and her Sukal attendant is the goddess Nishhashber, later conflated with the male deities Yabrat and Pasakal. Anana was worshipped in Sumer as early as the Iraq period, 4000 to 3100 BCE, and her worship was relatively localized before the conquest of Sargon and Akkad. During the post-Sargonic era, she became one of the most widely venerated deities in the Sumerian pantheon, with temples across Mesopotamia. Adoration of Ana Ishtar was continued by the East Semitic speaking peoples, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians, who succeeded and absorbed the Sumerians in the region. She was especially beloved by the Assyrians, who elevated her to become the highest deity in their pantheon, ranking above their own national god Ashur. Anans is alluded to, and she greatly influenced the Ugaritic goddess Ashtart and later Phoenician goddess Ash- Asharte, who in turn possibly influenced the development of the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Her worship continued to flourish until its gradual decline between the 1st and 6th century CE in the wake of Christianity. Anon appears in more myths than other Sumerian deities. She also has a uniquely high number of epithets, I can't pronounce that, and alternate names corroborable only in Nergal. Many of her myths involve her taking over the domains of other deities. She is believed to have been given the mess, which represent all positive and negative aspects of civilization, by Enki, the god of wisdom. She is also believed to have taken over the Ina temple from An, the god of the sky. Alongside her twin brother Utu, later known as Shamash, Ana is the enforcer of divine justice. She destroyed Mount Ebeh for having challenged her authority, unleashed her fury upon the gardeners Shukaletuda, and after he raped her in her sleep and tracked down the bandit woman Balulu and killed her in divine retribution for having murdered Dumuzid. In the standard Akkadian version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar asked Gilgamesh to become her consort. When he disdainfully refused, she unleashed the bull of heaven, resulting in the death of Enkidu and Gilgamesh's subsequent grapple with his own morality. Anana's most famous myths in the story of her descent into the return from the ancient Mesopotamian underworld, ruled by her older sister, Erishkigal. After she reaches Eshkigal's throne room, the seven judges of the underworld deem her guilty and strike her dead. 3 days later, Nishburu pleads with all the gods to bring Anana back. All of them refused her, except Eki, who sends two sexless beings to rescue Anana. They escort Anana out of the underworld, but the Gala, the guardians of the underworld, drag her husband Dumuzid down to the underworld as her replacement. Dumuzid is eventually permitted to return to heaven after to heaven for a half the year, while his sister Geshtanana remains in the underworld for the other half, resulting in the cycle of the seasons. So she's a pretty spiteful goddess, if you ask me, right? She's jealous of her sister, right?
Woo!
She got she got side dudes.
Woo!
She a sugar mama. She'll kill your
Woo!
people if you don't fuck her. She crazy.
Woo! Woo! It's like a flashback to the
Ooh-wee.
diaries of the crack epidemic. I'm gonna just, my mama sold me for $50 and a fit.
She act like Griselda Blanco though. That's who she act like. I'd be scared as fuck of her. Like she'd be like, "Oh, come over here." I'd be
And
like, "Okay,
and
look."
and they was, and they was,
For
and
good
they
reason.
was. They,
For good
they,
reason.
they believe whatever story she tell you. If she tells you she got pregnant through immaculate conception or through a dildo on a statue, then damn it, that is how she got pregnant. Nobody's gonna say different.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely scared of her. This is just my own interpretation and me guessing. I would probably think that kind of influenced the patriarchism in Abrahamic religions because they're probably like, man, this bitch crazy. We can't be having no more females running this shit. Hell
Right.
no.
Not another
Like, you know
one
what I
will
mean?
be
Like, they
born.
crazy, they
Nope.
emotional.
Yup.
Men
If
probably
we get
men
another
probably was like,
crazy
fuck
one like
this.
this, we gotta have rights over her. We gotta be able to beat her in submission. We gotta have the right to lock her up for no reason. Something,
Something, call her witch, something.
something.
Because this is not gonna work out for us. Like, you know what I mean? That's probably how once people who come from religion, women, once they leave religion, that's probably how they feel. Like, man, there's some bullshit. Fuck every man at every walk because the only reason why da 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 da. Cause y'all read this, so I guess I can kind of understand that from both points of view now. But man, that shit crazy. I'd be scared of her. Man, I'd be
Now
like,
we
listen,
got cryogenic
I can't
freezers
afford to worship
everywhere,
her.
holding
Mm-mm.
billions upon billions of sperm. We just saying. It was a nice experiment. What you gonna do with
That
all
shit
these
crazy.
frozen sperms and embryos? What you gonna do with all of them? Oh, and by the way, remember in that video where it said in the Germanic thing that it had the eggs and the eggs were worshipped as a representation of the sun? Do you remember that bullshit in the video?
Yeah, once I heard that, do you see my face once I heard that? I'm like, man, come on.
They act like they didn't have anatomy back then, like they didn't know that there was an egg and there was sperm, and that the snake looked like a sperm wrapped around an egg to me. Like, what you mean? That ain't had nothing to do with the sun. Nothing at all. Nothing.
I don't know though. I mean, they had anatomy, but the 1500s though, I don't know.
Man, you
They
believe
may
the
not have
hype
had it
too.
all the way down pat.
You have you ever seen the precision used in those mummies? Like the everything taken out. Like,
Wait. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. This is what I'm saying. Okay, so we're talking about Germanic people.
uh
Who's to
huh.
say that they knew what they knew? You know what I mean? So I don't know because they may not have knew that. There were some people that were definitely advanced in every aspect. They had colleges in
You,
Africa, in
you,
Egypt, for sure, for sure. The Greeks were pretty smart too.
right, right. And I'm not saying it as in like they were smart. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, did you hear the twist of words in the commercialization trying to turn that egg and sperm sample into some kind of worship of the sun?
When they said it, I heard it and I definitely caught it. I mean, I didn't look at
Why
it
are
like
they
that
always
in that
trying to
aspect,
change the
but it
meaning of
was
the
kind of idiotic
symbolism?
to me.
Why are they always trying to change the meaning of the symbolisms? Why are they trying to turn it into something uh sacred instead of what it really is? Hump, hump, hump. Make more kids. Hump, hump, hump. Make more kids. Diversify. Come together. Make a baby.
You know what though?
It'll be a
I just
special baby because it's
I
done
just
on
thought
a
about
special day.
I just thought about something. I kind of contradicted myself. They would have had to know, and the reason why they would have had to know is because why would you correlate an egg from coming from a rabbit if you don't know that it's an egg? So even though you know it didn't come from the rabbit,
Because
I don't
one
know.
thing rabbits do is breed. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. They do it really well. What's a rabbit?
I
Like a
want
two
to.
pump chuck?
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look into rabbits. I'm gonna look into rabbits because now that I'm starting to learn more about different species and things that we domesticated, none of the animals and shit that I know anymore are real anymore. Like my mind is still fucking blown about chickens. I can't believe that. even though I know it's
Rabbit,
true.
rabbits were bred for good eats too. They bred the rabbits for good eats too.
I would bet.
You ever have rabbit stew? It's a good stew. It's a good stew. Good amount of onions, carrots, like any
Yeah,
other
I mean,
stew.
I have, but I can't remember it.
Mm.
My parents, they was into shit like that because again,
I
they
had
was from the
rabbit
country,
foot as a kid,
but
and then I
I'm
thought
not.
about
So
it, and I was like, how would I get a rabbit's foot? Are they just going around killing the rabbit just so I can have the foot? Then I didn't want the rabbit foot no more because I thought they was killing rabbits
are you
just
talking
so
about
I could walk around with the foot.
the Lucky Charm?
Yes,
You know what the Lucky Charm thing?
yes.
Oh yeah, I had
The
some of them.
Lucky
I didn't think
Charm
that they was
rabbit
real though.
foot.
I thought that they was like I didn't think it really was a rabbit foot. Yeah, I ain't even think about that till just right now. Like, damn, we should be all soft. I thought it was fake though.
Some of them
You
probably
sure they was?
were
You
at
sure they
some
was really
point,
running
but I
around
know that
with all them
mine was
fucking things? Because
real.
listen,
Mine was at a flea market, and mine was real. It
and the
still
reason why I'm
had the
asking that is
claws on
because
it.
what I'm saying is every time, damn, I can see my sinuses. My eye right here is so fucking swole. But look, what I'm saying is the reason why I don't think that they're real is because the volume of them. Do you see how many? Like every time I seen them, it would be a whole like case of different ones. They would have like brown and white fur and all that. I'm just now I'm thinking about it like, damn, y'all just was really running around here just fucking Bambi up like that. And it was something for like $1. I was getting them from like book clubs and shit. Like you know how they used to pass out the little things and you be trying to order the books and shit.
The whole 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 herds of
That's
buffalo
funny.
left out to
That's fucked
rot.
up.
They didn't even take the hides. That's how much buffalo fur became worthless. They didn't even bother to sell the hides anymore. It's just piles of animals out there rotting.
That's another thing. Cows ain't real neither.
Yeah,
They're not. This shit is crazy. Nothing is what it appears to be. Let me play this other video real quick because I want to watch these fucking goddamn playoff games. They good. Boy, I'm watching out the corner of my eye. Memphis just got their head cool.
oh, I
This one's
wonder
gonna be
who
short
placed
too.
those bets. Where's that bet? You know what? Shh, shh, shh. Let's wait till it's over. Let's wait till it's over.
Right, because it's a series, you know. Anything can happen. I argue with my friends about gambling in sports. I don't like it.
Man, I'll gamble on
And the reason why I don't
anything, and
like
that's why I just stay away from it. As soon as I start seeing the stats, here I go. Give me $1. Give me $1.
this why I don't like it. Okay. So if it's straight up bets who win, who lose, that's one thing, right? But if we're talking about bets that have variables in it, right? Basically side bets, right? This player got to have 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and shit like that, right?
Right.
And this is public information. The whole wide world knows this shit before the game starts, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen if it's the fourth quarter and for whatever reason you're missing this stat line by 1 rebound and the
Just
coach takes
one.
you out the game? And the coach takes you out the game. Then what? If
Ooh.
if out of a million times, if that happens, right? Out of a million times, you cannot tell me with a straight face that every single last person is not taking that into consideration. They're going
Everything.
somebody's going to cheat. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to fucking do it. And they have proven this. They have proven this because
I I did
if
the JV. I did the JV stats for the boys basketball. What you need your numbers to be today? What you need your numbers? I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Right, right, and that's what you can use that with the refs and shit, and that's been proven too. But what I'm saying is, gambling is such a bad habit for some people that all these athletes, they know beforehand what the consequence is if they involve themselves. If you are a player, if you are a coach, anybody associated with the shit, referee, any of that shit, if you gamble and you get caught, even in a sport that don't got nothing to do with your sport, you are automatically banned for the reason I just said. But guess
Yep.
what? It's still happening. It's
Yes.
still
Yeah.
happening. It's still
Yeah.
happening. It's still happening. And they can prove it. I've seen
Yeah.
footage of players. I'm not going to mention their names. You can see it on purpose that they're trying not to get what they need to get to drop in the ball on purpose to the point where the FBI is getting involved. So my thing is this: why is it just take it, get rid of it, get rid of it?
Here's my thing though. Why not just get rid of the stats and the gambling on it? Why you gotta go after like why you gotta bring in the FBI to critique the footage and stuff? Like I
Because it's too easy. That's why it's too easy. At that point, they're 50-50 bets.
what's wrong with a 50-50 bet?
How can you bet a casino or whoever or any of these gambling places that they gamble online, right? You
Yeah.
can't. They cannot profit by doing that. They cannot.
But I thought it was the thrill that we wanted, not the win. I
That's
thought we
listen.
all knew that the house always wins, unless you're Donald Trump. Now, at that casino, evidently the house was not always winning, but that's neither here nor there.
NJ, but you're assuming that when you gamble, your odds are 50-50. If at the casino, if your odds was 50-50, I would not fucking work. I would have been a millionaire, lost it a million times, and got it back a million motherfucking times too. That's what's called gambling. It's not. It's not 50. Your odds are like 5 to 10% maybe
But
at
that's
that.
why all the gamblers retired because, they came up with casinos and they cheat.
I
We
mean,
learned that
yeah.
way back on the riverboat days. You know how many people was laying at the bottom of the river because they was cheating on the riverboats?
I don't really. If well, it depends on how you could define cheating. But I don't really feel like people that can count cards are cheating. And the reason why I don't feel like they are cheating is because the person that's dealing it to them can too. Just because I'm smart, so what?
That that wasn't cheating. No, we no. The only way you ended up at the bottom of the river was cheating for real. Like you had cards up your sleeve and stuff like that. Yeah, the dealer no.
Right?
But
No,
if
I'm
the
not talking
dealer's
about the
really
dealer.
good at shuffling, the dealer knows what you got. If the
No, no,
dealer
no,
is if the dealer is the counter, they know what you got.
no, no. This is what I'm saying. Like I agree with you. Like people that got the cards up the sleeve. That's why I said it depends on what kind of cheating you're talking about. What I'm saying is people that know how to count cards. If they find out you know how to count cards, they're going to kick you out. And that's considered cheating just because you know how. And what I'm saying is that's not fair because the person that's dealing you them bitches, he does too or she does too. So what I'm
I
saying is just because I'm smart,
I agree with you, but that's you know I don't know. When we count cards, we got smart too. Don't do that. Don't I mean not don't count the cards. Don't piss them off. There's a cutoff point. You move on.
yeah,
But
just hit him a little bit and dip.
this is where this is where Atlantic City got fucked up. They're almost all owned by the same family. So it's like you can't just keep going down the boardwalk and get them all because they've got different owners. Now you pissed off this one over here, or you won over here, but you go over here, you win some more, but they already tracked you because they know that you came over from their sister casino. And I was like,
Mhm.
you know what? Let's all go find something else to do. Let's go play elsewhere. Let's move on.
Yeah, they mostly all Hollywood here is what they call it.
Ah,
Most of them, not
That's a
all of them.
whole nother catastrophe in the making, but I'll leave that alone. That's their business. They bailed out Donald Trump. I don't like them.
I mean, hey, that's their God.
Their God is my enemy. May I go
Queen
straight to
of
hell.
heaven.
Exactly. I say that all the time. And people think I'm crazy for saying it, but it's the truth. I feel like it's better to go to hell than worship the person who created it, but that's just my opinion.
Ishtar is the name or form that Babylonians and Akkadians gave to symbol war, sexuality, and fertility. She was worshipped mostly in North Mesopotamia, and she had temples in numerous cities, Arik being the most important. In the Mesopotamian pantheon, she is the moon consort or secret of the heaven god. She has an astral or stellar Venus as the morning and evening star, and she forms a stellar triad with her father and brother. We can see the star, known worldwide as the Whore of Babylon, due to her sexual aspect. Men and sacred prostitutes.
Wow, wow. So that's a quite interesting explanation of her. I've never heard none of that. Heard a Babylonian whore. I kind of like that, truthfully, but that's a very interesting way of describing her.
Yes, of course she would be a whore because she wouldn't marry someone and give them all her lands and money. Of course they would refer to her as a whore.
Well, I mean, I was with it, for about the first 8 or 9 seconds. Then they got a little bit too freaky for me. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like I stopped it right at the right time. But hey, I'm gonna go ahead and finish playing it so we can get up out of here.
Constitution every year, as every woman had to do once in their life. Women would prostitute themselves in temples with the first foreigner who threw them a coin. In the new year, in spring, people would go in procession to celebrate the joy of the sacred marriage. The Hieros Gamos, as a warrior goddess, she was described as the lady of the battles, the one who rules the fighting and piles up her enemy. Her priestess, the Akkadian poet and princess in Hedwana, is the first person in the history of literature who joins an author's name with their work. Her poems, dedicated to Ishtar, portray her as a deity that sometimes brings disaster on earth. The mythology surrounding Ishtar gives us a good idea of her personality, for it was planted at the Euphrates riverside. This tree was swept away by the water. Ishtar takes it to a home to sit on, and a bed to lie on. Nevertheless, a serpent, the Anzur bird, and Lilith occupied it, making the goddess cry. Then, the warrior Gilgamesh forced them out of the tree and shaped it and the bed appear in the ash. Rebelli refuses her advances. She sends him the bull of heaven and curses him. Other myths tell how she gets the myth or civilization attributes in Eridu. Her uncle Enki continued with jest that she takes Tos as her consort. Tos, who is a shepherd and Enki's son, tries to gain her heart and demonstrates to her that he is good enough to be her. But it is a myth. The Greek word of desire. The shepherd, she decorates oil, brings the seed time, and plant growth, the lush garden, and the joy of the people. And finally, great above, she directed her thoughts to the lower world, the land of no return, the land of darkness. In the Babylonian version, Ishtar descends to the underworld to save her husband, Tammuz. She manages to enter as she threatens to keep breaking her loincloth. She passes the seven doors that read later. Her brother Shamash cries for the loss in the face of sin, and ends prison. But Eresh, she was over. Inanna takes revenge on Dumuzi because he occupies the royal throne in her absence. She sends him to the underworld to take her place. Dumuzi tends to replace him for months, giving the origin of the seasons. Nowadays, thanks to the goddess revival and the interest in feminine spirituality, Ishtar's cult is back on the scene. She sexually liberates women, considering the vulva as something sacred. She makes them descend in a journey of self-discovery to the land of darkness. Hence, and lovers. Ishtar's devotees learn to work with their bodies and minds in the court. If you would like to learn far more,
You can market that really, 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 really well in the porn and kink industry. I'm just saying that if you need a god for the porn and kink industry, this would be the god for
Mhm.
that industry.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, yeah, she's like 100% and anti-patriotic. Like, if oof, I could just imagine, like, say for instance, if it was me, you, and a couple Christians on here listening to, oh man, they'll lose their fucking mind, because they're always trying to control like what women do, how they
Right, right,
dress,
right,
how they
right.
act, and all
Right.
that shit that
This
would
is how
never
you
benefit
should
men.
look to go to master's jobs. This is how you should look to go out shopping. This is how you should look in your bedroom. This is how you should look when around others of different races and cultures. This is how you should look. This look belongs to this culture. This look belongs to that culture. Please don't touch yourself. Please don't touch yourself. Please don't
Right,
touch yourself. Please don't touch yourself. Please
right,
don't let others touch you. Please don't let others touch you. Please don't let others touch you. Please don't let the opposite sex touch you with any sexual parts of their sexual parts. Just no touching, no touching, no touching.
right. Exactly. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you know what I used to tell people all the time?
Except for a handshake. Then they can force you to touch them.
You know what I used to tell people all the time when I used to debate with them, and primarily when I would be speaking to black people, or if I would be talking to white people and telling them about black people. I used to be like, especially on this topic when they talk about, oh well, people these days, these women are dressing like hoes. And the first thing I would say would be kind of perverted. I'd be like, listen, bruh, I don't know why you have a problem with it unless you're gay. Period. I said, she's doing it for you, motherfucker. You need to say thank you. I said, that's number one. I said, but on some real shit. Number two, right? Because we are black people, right? Do you really think that in Africa, or if you even believe that you from over here or from the Caribbean some fucking where, which we know that they came from Africa too, but do you really think that in those times that you dress like that, wearing dresses all the way from head to toe, suits and ties and shit in Africa? Who would dress from head to toe? Socks, shoes, all the way up, cold, zipped all up, ladies dressed all the way up. Who would do that? Probably somebody from a cold fucking climate, right?
Just saying.
If you listen, you can still see the hardcore evidence. Like it depends on what part of Africa we're talking about. Now, if we're talking about a lot of times where we're from now, if you see some of their traditional clothing, it's influenced so much by Islam and Christianity that
It's
they
not
are.
even funny because I only get to see them when I go to university cities, and the aunties and the uncles be running, at least one or two local motels in the area, and they're usually cheaper. So I like going to them. But that's not the point of the story. Uh, you get to see them all dressed up in their
Mhm,
original garb when they're holding services at the motel, aka the
mhm.
banquet hall. They tell you it's a banquet, but it's really a church service. But you see them, they're all dressed up and everything. To the nines, the stockings, the high heels, the sequins,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
fabulous hats that I know
Big
cost an
old
arm and a leg. Yeah,
and big old shoulders and shit and all that shit.
completely reshape the bodies. They do not look the same as they do Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, in a government job.
I would argue that well, not it's not even an argument because that is like I said, what I just said previous to you, that is influence from Islam and Christianity. If you talk about especially like Nigeria, that's where that come from. But if you go to some of the tribes, like in South Africa and shit like that, my favorite one, Zulus, right? If you look at the women, they not embarrassed and shamed or anything like that of their body. They walk around naturally like that, right? So you can't say when people be like, "Oh, well, the reason why women
Where is the
restriction."
missionary in that area? They haven't been able to change that mindset yet. Where's the missionaries at? The missionary, did they finally kick all the missionaries out? Is that what happened?
No, but a lot of them they're still traditional. But my point is that you know that's their natural bodies, like and when people make claims like, oh well, you're more likely to be sexually assaulted if you wear something that is more revealing, then you're
Bullshit.
more likely. That's bullshit. That's
Bullshit.
bullshit. That's bullshit. What?
Bathing suits wouldn't exist if that wasn't true. You know how long it took for women to finally just say, fuck it, we're wearing something that actually makes sense at the beach? We used to go there and like, okay, I won't say we. I'm just saying I have seen pictures of, let me rephrase. I have seen pictures of women from neck to ankle covered at the beach. That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, what is you there for? What are you there for?
But that show you that men making the rules because look, that makes it seem like we just helpless. Like, oh, I can't control myself because I'm sexually attracted to her. Man, do you listen? Do you know how many sexually attractive people I can see in one day if I go out in public every day,
Man,
especially in
if
the
I
big city?
reacted to everyone, man, I'd be walking around just with a perpetual drool down the corner of my
That's what
mouth.
I'm saying. I'm like, this shit is fucking stupid. Like, why do you think that a religion that's roughly 2,000 years old should dictate the whole world when you can clearly see it's not natural? Listen, body shaming that comes from that too. That comes from that. All of it. It's all the same shit. And when you just really sit back and just think about it, like, okay, so you mean to tell me that some people back in biblical times in the motherfucking desert was dressed from head to toe?
And if you go by that route, school uniforms, it's still the same thing. No individualism, no expression, because we need everybody to look the same and be uniform so that when they graduate from here, they will still look the same in uniform with the environment around them.
Hmm.
What?
It's robotical, all of it. And then people just are mad that you don't want to do what they do. But my thing is, I don't see why anybody gives a fuck. And that goes
Everything
in
is
so
a
many different
rehab
directions.
now. There's like a 12-step program to everything. Like 12-step program to no longer eating eggs, so egg prices will go down because we don't eat them anymore. What? Make no sense.
I just don't see why people don't really be focused on themselves, and that's even when, people that got problems with gay people. Like, why you give a fuck?
Right, because no one knows where the nose goes when the door's closed. Why is you worried about what they doing over there? What is you doing over here? What you doing?
I
What you
think
doing?
I think that some people are so ignorant to the point where they think that if they were to eradicate everybody gay in the world, that the problem would be over. Dude, they would just more would just meet more repopulate. Like, I don't see why people don't see that.
And
Just
all this time of all these fetishes with other people's sex lives. And guess what? You ain't changed nothing.
either they gonna
They
do it.
just keep on being born. You know why? Because when people grow up and they want to achieve the big O, they doesn't. We're not. We're not going well. Will everybody else approve of how I achieve this O in this moment? No.
I hate their other argument too. They're like, oh well, they just put it in my face. Why do I have to hear about? There's a lot of fucking
Because
things
you
going
left the
on.
house. If you don't want it in your face, never leave your home. There's a reason you pay for your home. You have put all this money and invested in your home so that it can look and sound the way you wish it to be in your world. Once you leave that property, what you get is anybody's business.
Exactly. And everybody has the freedom of expression. Everybody. You can say what you want. You can do what you want. You can be what you want. And with me, as long
unless you
as it's
start unless you start crossing imaginary lines on the map. Now, some people like their particular backyard a certain way. So they put a line on the map and they said if you come on this side of the line, you got to follow these kind of rules. Ooh, let me avoid that area. But no, we want you to come here and spend your dollars with us. We want you to come sightsee, vacation, stuff like that. We just don't want you to move in. We just don't want you to move in.
hey, and that's only fair. If you pay the cost to be the boss, you can do that. That's my rule here. While you at my house, what I say go. When you leave, that's on you. That's anybody rule. And like I said, if it doesn't affect the bottom line, my money or anything like that, or my livelihood, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. There's other things out here that I need to be concerned with. And I'm definitely not going to be concerned with things that are not happening in the bathroom or who uses what bathroom. That's not my daily concern. And then
At
I
all. And I can't believe that that is still conversation. Well, I had a harrowing experience. Okay, you have now vented about it. Thank you for the information, but we still don't care.
I ask them a lot of times. I'm like, well, do you want a trans person in the bathroom with you? A person that was born a man in the bathroom with you with a dress on? Oh well, if that's how they were born, they're supposed to. That's the bathroom that they're supposed to go to. And the thing about it is, whenever we have this conversation, I never have a conversation with a woman about that. I never hear a woman say, "Oh well, I
Because
don't
we
want."
are in our stall. They are in their stall. We don't give a flying fuck what's going on in other stalls. Sometimes we can smell what's going on or hear what's going on in another stall, but we really don't give a shit. We really don't. We just prefer that you not pass out underneath where we can see underneath the stall.
Hmm.
But in newer builds, you can no longer see under the stall. For some reason, they're doing the fully enclosed method. I don't know when we started that, but I'm seeing that in a lot of gas station portal designs at this time. Because I was told this morning on TikTok now that the gas stations are the portals. That's where people are jumping through at. Those are the portals. I see the most interesting things online some days.
Clearly, but yeah, it's like I said, it's always men being concerned with a bathroom that they ain't even allowed to go in, as if a born man, right? Clearly these people don't.
Acting like women haven't been getting out of the long ass line at the stadium for the women's bathroom. walking their happy asses into the men's bathroom
It was not
and
a fuck
using the
given.
same stall in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a stall with a door
And a
that
lock.
y'all when
Yep. Yep.
you gotta
That's a fact.
pee. When you gotta pee, you gotta pee. And I ain't got all day to play niceties with other women. I'm here first. Bitch, you obviously got time to wait in line because that's why you in line. I need to pee now. I will jump this line and beat your ass. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. That's about the only time you're gonna hear something coming from a woman's mouth about a bathroom situation. That's the only time, because like you said, that is 100% factual. I see women do it all the time. They be like, "Shit, fuck this," walk right in our bathroom. I be looking like, if I do
And
that,
we
I'd go to
expect to
jail.
look. We would be affronted if you didn't look. Well, thank you for noting. Thank you for noting. I should be safe now. You noted. I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
use the stall right here,
Mm-hmm.
quietly, silently, do my little business, wash my hands, and get the fuck out.
Right. But overall, the Legend of Ishtar, I think that it clearly shows the ties to what we call Easter here in the United States. Um, it clearly comes from several different Mesopotamian, Assyrian, Babylonian myths and pantheons. Uh, both of the videos kind of gave different depictions of her. One was very mild, the other one was somewhat explicit. Uh, she was a
I
freak.
like the explicit version myself, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
it was cool. She was a freak. She
Shit
had
sound like my
dudes.
kind of people to me. You sound like good people to me. Sound like good people.
I still would have been scared of her, however you look at it. But I could see that any man, the religions that came after paganism, I could see they basically made sure they shut the door on that situation as best as they can, right? Because that was wild. But I feel like people should be able to do whatever they want to do with their sexuality. That's on them. Um, I didn't really care for the murderous, jealous shit that she was on. Um, it's no different than Abrahamic religions in that aspect. So hey, who am I to?
You got to work that in there somewhere because the women
Mhm.
of the Arabic and other thing that you said, they was just as ruthless as the men, if not more so, because they were so limited in their movement.
Mhm. Aisha definitely was. She was a G. She definitely was a dog. To your point, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to learn and see where other myths derive from, because this is several different myths in one. As you can see,
Yep,
she has several names. I
yep,
was I was unaware of the fact that the Council of Nicaea actually predicated this holiday
yep.
and presented it and set it up the way that it is. Glad I took the time to do it.
Did you appreciate my bunny ears today, Warren? Just for
Uh-huh.
the spin.
Uh-huh. I don't know what else. Y'all, there's so much. Every time I sit in this chair, I be sleeping. What you got going on the rest of the day?
Oh gosh, I am looking at the sun, so the hammock is calling. The hammock is calling, and because I had my coffee so late, I have not begun on my alcohol yet. So yeah, it's after 5 o'clock somewhere on a Sunday. I can have my drink, my hammock, some sunshine, grandson's happy, everything's cool. How was your week looking to shape up so far?
Not sure. Hopefully, it's interesting and good things happen. Probably do the sports show sometimes this week. Definitely will be back here next Sunday. Don't know exactly what the topic is going to be about, as always, but I thought that Ishtar, knowing the little I knew about her, was definitely necessary for today, so some people can see the correlation between this holiday that's not real, uh,
It's
and
not
it's real,
real, but it's lucrative. But
right?
yeah.
And they can see the origins of it. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Thank you, NJ. You're always a great help. Your input is definitely valuable. You getting on TikTok later?
Oh. Well, if you get on there and you get a good one, because I love me a good character. I love a good sport. It's when they're so dang serious that they hurt my feelings. They hurt
I
my feelings.
I be having some good backdrops, but I don't know how to crop them in the right way to get them shits where you can see it, and that shit is
Me
annoying.
either. I don't. I mean, like, you know what? I cannot do it. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do
What
it.
kind of phone you got?
Samsung.
That's probably what the fuck it is because the last person that was trying to tell me how to do it, they said that, and I'm like, no, no, it ain't, no, it ain't. So I don't fucking know. But there has to be a way, and it's just something I'm not doing right. I'm gonna figure that shit out. Because I definitely be wanting to get on, but I don't be wanting to have use them same fucking backdrops that I be having, even though it'll get a couple people talking or whatever. But I want to have different ones, and it should be pissing me off.
Right. Because the way my mind works, it should be 5 clicks and I'm done. Because it's on a
Mhm.
laptop. It shouldn't be this hard. It should be 5 clicks and I'm done.
Oh, see, I never use my laptop because I mean I've used it
Even-
for certain things, but not like that. But I never use it because I don't have like pictures on my laptop. I could just screenshot with my phone and shit.
Right. And I see what you're saying. And I do try it with my phone. And I still run into the same issue. But I meant to say my cell phone when I said laptop. I didn't mean to say cell phone when I said laptop.
You know what it reminds me of though? It's kind of like when the internet first became popular. Like if you be on it, you can't be on the phone like how dial-up was. It's kind of like that.
I'm gonna tell you, my house was killing my game. The house phone was always on the online. Always.
That was a rough era. Sacrifices was made. Calls was rejected.
And then
People
you had
did
to learn
die
how
because
to
that motherfucker had
block
that
call
AOL.
waiting because you
Was
would
out there
you would
like
be downloading
cancer
and
for a
call
minute.
waiting with counts fuck it all up. Oh my god, they used to drive me so insane. Oh look, just the flashback of it. I need a deep breath. Whew.
Man, listen, 30 songs downloading at one time, like stack, like boom, 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 boom. And they all be saying cute and shit. Man, that was the days, man. I posted one day on Facebook, no lie to you, NJ. I posted 100 pack of DVD-Rs, and I posted, and I was like, "This the shit that really made me," and I am not lying. Listen, I made so much motherfucking money off of selling burnt CDs and DVDs. Listen, man, I made a killing back in the day doing that shit. I ain't worked for years doing that.
I would buy them big
Mm-mm-mm.
stacks of the individually cased ones. And my daughter was running a whole gambit with the she would make sure that you had the album cover, the correct one, and everything. She was a hot mess.
I would do it several different ways. What I would do to save much money as I can, right, and to have the best shit, I would wait till they came out on Tuesdays, and I would copy the real ones. Sometimes I would have the little ones that motherfuckers be standing up and all that dumb shit. But I really didn't do that. I would have them when they came out on Tuesdays. I would get the 100 pack, right? Because if you get the ones that you're talking about, that shit pricey. So I would get the 100 pack, and I would get a whole bunch of boxes of sleeves, and then I would just write it on there, put it in there.
Right. And you were running a great one, but you don't understand. I was buying them from me, myself, and I. My daughter took it upon herself to take what I had bought for me and use it for a very lucrative business for
Oh, and
herself.
dub it.
Right. I never saw a dime. I never saw a dime.
You know what though? I would have said, "Don't ask me for shit."
And I did. And she did not. That's why I wasn't mad. I was like, oh, I just looked up one day and my kids no longer asked me for $20 each on the weekend. I don't know when it happened. I wasn't there for an event. There was no party. I just looked up one day and I actually had an extra $60 just sitting in my wallet doing nothing.
That's what's up. That was an error, boy. Oh man, I missed that error. But having all them fucking books and cases of fucking CDs and shit riding around in your car and all that dumb shit. I don't miss that. I bet you probably out in the ocean, out in the Pacific Ocean where all that fucking trash is collected. I bet you at least 10% of them shits is CDRs and DVDRs. Gotta be.
Facts. Facts. I used to work at a recycling plant. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I was like, how can you work at a recycling plant and there's plastic that they reject? There's plastic they reject to recycle. It can't be recycled.
Why?
Something about the coloring or the plastic melts in some kind of way that would fuck up the machines. One
I,
of the
ne-
two.
I never knew that. I never. I tried to work at one of them places. Like, well, I didn't try. About a month ago, I took a job, and it was like a little job you could take off your app on your phone and shit. And it's a recycling center, and I'm not thinking. So I go down there and shit. It's a goddamn landfill. I lasted about 20 minutes. Was like, yeah, I can't do this. It's not
Mhm.
for me.
Not for
Not
me.
for me. And was gone about
I
that.
had I had to ask a lot of questions when I took that job. I do mean a lot of questions. Like I need to see what you calling a lab. I need to see what you are calling administrative lab work. Like, because they try to change the language on you sometimes.
Mm, yeah, I can't
I
do
was like,
that
oh,
shit.
okay, you meant a real lab. All right, I'm working with you now. I'm working with you.
Yeah, that shit ain't for me. But thank you everybody for stopping by again. You're such a great help, NJ. I'll catch everybody on TikTok. Catch you back here again next week around noon with more faith, lies, and confusion. Good evening, good afternoon, and good night, everybody.